Hello everybody, this is Stephen Howson, this is Full Time Devils, this is Sampdoria versus Manchester United at the Aviva Stadium in Dublin. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Doc Joshi. How's you doing, sir? And I'm also delighted to be joined by Paul from Rankcast, the wonderful Manchester United podcast. Link is in the description below. Please go and check that out once you've finished watching this delightful video that we have got for you. How's it going, Paul?
Yeah, marvellous. Thank you. All the better for that plug. Thanks, Steve.
No problem. We'll do another one at the end as well. Right, the first thing we are going to talk about today is the midfield. So, Manchester United, as it stands, as we're recording this, Matic has not signed, but it's basically a done deal by all accounts. And Fellaini, yesterday seemed like he was done, and then Mourinho came out and said he'd rather go with Galatasaray himself. Paul, give us your take on this one, please.
Oh, you know. Listen, he scored yesterday, didn't he? And everyone was like, see, that's why we shouldn't sell him. I mean, I would refer the honourable gentleman to sorry, my laptop just tried to restart in the middle of my sentence. It's trying to save me. I would refer the audience that said we shouldn't sell Fellaini on the basis of that goal to his miss against Madrid a few days earlier where he skied it from 6 yards out. It's fine, isn't it? We need to keep him. If we didn't keep him, we'd need to replace him. So long as he's used as a kind of attacking battering ram rather than ever used as a holding midfielder, which is a job he simply can't do.
Joshi, weigh in on this, please.
On Fellaini, look, I think he's got Jose Mourinho likes him, obviously, and I think it's because he does what he's told to do. He's just disciplined in the sense that he will do his job, and I think Jose Mourinho likes that. He's also, I guess, another option in terms of obviously his height. But the problem I have is even though he's decent in the air, he's not as good as he should be with his height, and he's far too clumsy. And we've gone over and over as to how, he doesn't really fit into a midfield that wants to recycle possession and get the forwards going. He's not really a great passer. He's not creative. He's just an option, and I guess, and in the end, it comes down to simply to the fact if we were to sell him, we're short on numbers. We'll have Pogba, Herrera, and Carrick as senior central midfielders, and that's going to be difficult to manage. And even with Matic coming in, you'd think that you still need numbers if you're going to sell Fellaini. And also you've got to, I guess, factor in the youngsters. But Jose, as we know, is a bit reticent to sort of put them in straight away.
Paul, you want to say something?
Yeah, the thing about Fellaini and Mourinho is, with another manager, you would say Fellaini is an option. But this is a point Mohammed Butt from Squawker makes quite often. Mourinho is a situationalist. He's a specialist. Mourinho likes tweaking individual setups against specific weaknesses in other teams, and having Fellaini in your squad isn't just an option in midfield. It is a unique option in football in a way. Now, it's very frustrating. He's very frustrating a lot of the time, but if you think about our performance against Ajax in the final of the Europa League, if we didn't have Fellaini in the squad, you couldn't have put that performance in. It was the existence of Fellaini that made that performance possible. Fellaini was the kind of statistical man of the match in that game because he won so many aerial duels that, it's not so much the headed aerial duels. We talk about this all the time. It's the chest control and bringing people into play. That's something that he does in a kind of really unique way. And listen, the honest truth is I'm not a big fan of his as a footballer, but it's really easy to see why Mourinho loves him. And I'm just laying the groundwork here for why I think it's fine we've signed Matic, and not being a complete hypocrite, because I'm about to say that it's okay that we've signed Matic, a player that lots of people weren't too excited about, because Mourinho's going to love him. So I can't then go, yeah, but we should have sold Fellaini even though Mourinho loves him.
Speaking of Matic, then I'm going to come straight back to you on this one. Then, what do you think he's going to be offering to Manchester United?
Well, I think it's pretty clear, right? I mean, he is a known quantity. And the best thing, in my analysis, the best thing about the Matic signing is what it can do for Paul Pogba. Because, when the Real Madrid Galacticos sold Claude Makelele, I think this is Zidane's famous quote where he says, you're buying a Bentley and selling the engine, or whatever it might be. And Matic can form that function. It's not an exciting signing, but players to play a holding midfield role are rarely the kind of exciting, glamorous signing. You could say he's old, but really he's probably got another 5 years in him in that role. He's not the most exciting passer of the ball, but he is a very functional passer of the ball, and his job is going to be to get the ball to Pogba. That's going to be Matic's. Take the ball off the other team, get it to Pogba. You know, it's a shield for the defence, which is something Mourinho always wants, but also just a shuttler between defence and attack. And of course, he's also very tall, which adds to the fact that Mourinho is assembling a team of absolute giant humans, which is clearly something he loves.
Joshy, Matic, what's he bringing to the table aside from what Paul's already mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's probably a bit better than just a functional passer. I mean, I think he got 7 assists last year, which is more than any of our players did in the league. So, you know, he's obviously got something a bit more than just sort of handing it off to the next guy, unless they were all sort of just handing it off to Hazard at the halfway line, who beats 10 players and then scores. But, you know, I think a lot of if you look at Jose Mourinho's teams, that player at the base is someone who's kind of like that tactical representation of Mourinho on the pitch. You know, he can see things. It should be someone who's able to read the game and actually know when to push forward himself, press forward, or maybe when to bring players back. And look, you need an experienced player for that. You need someone who's got that awareness and ability to read the game, which he does. And Mourinho knows him. There's a reason why he's been targeted, and he's proven in the Premier League. Another thing that Paul didn't really mention is he's 28, 29 years old, but in that role he's still got plenty of time in that role if you look at Carrick. And then when you look at the makeup of the squad, we have lots of players who are in that sort of 22, 23, 24-year-old region, and that's really exciting. There's lots of potential in this squad. But when you look at the elder statesmen within the actual senior squad and actually starting, who are going to start, you're sort of limited now when you think about the team. Carrick, he's not going to start every single game. Valencia will start more often than not. And then aside from that, in your starting 11, you have a pretty young team. So bringing someone with his experience and his winning experience, you know, he's won the league twice out of the last 3 seasons, is potentially really important for those on-pitch moments where you need that extra sort of level of know-how and knowledge. Obviously, the players that we have, age isn't just the only thing. They're all very experienced at a high level, but just having that slightly more, that older head can also help with those younger players in that area.
I think you've hit the nail on the head, mate, because one of the things that Manchester United have allowed to drain out of the club recently is experience, but not just experience, but experience of being able to win titles. And Matic has done this at Chelsea. He's done this recently at Chelsea, and Chelsea fans are revising history as quick as they can write it at the moment. They're pretending that Kante was this massive enigmatic reason why they won the league last season, forgetting the fact that Matic has been part of 2 title wins in the last couple of years, and actually played 35 games in the league for him last season. So it's not as if we're buying a player that's completely out in the cold at Chelsea. I agree in the terms that Mourinho knows this guy. I agree in the terms that Mourinho, when you scout a player, you can scout a guy 100 times for me, but you have no idea how he responds to you giving him instructions as a manager. So when Jose Mourinho brings in someone that he's worked with before and won a title with before, and he's now the manager of this club, and he looks at this club and goes, we need a square peg. That's a square peg that I've worked with before. Get that square peg right in there. And Paul nailed it before. What Paul Pogba is going to do is very reminiscent of what you saw from Chelsea in their title win a couple of years ago under Mourinho, where Fabregas is allowed to just be freed up because Matic is that safety blanket that sits behind him. And I think on the other side of midfield, you're going to have Herrera providing the energy and the spark, who can do half of each job going forward and defensively when required, and then just allow Paul Pogba to Paul Pogba the shit out of it going forward.
The one thing that I would say in the slightly kind of let's be realistic about this signing, you know, you mentioned that assist number, and yeah, he has got more assists than any United player got last season, but assists are a pretty specific stat. And if you look at his key pass per 90 numbers, he wouldn't have cracked the top 15 at United last summer. So he's not like generating loads of creative passing. And I don't say that to knock him as a signing. That's about tempering our expectations as fans. What we should know what we're going to get from him. And if he hits that 7 assists again, I suspect that'll probably mean Pogba scored a lot of 30-yarders this season.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't. That's not going to be his job. His job isn't going to be getting forward and providing that key pass for people to put away. But it's sort of also understanding he's not just going to, tackle and then sort of pass it 2 yards and then go, all right, leave it. I think there's a lot to his game, and I think a lot of that will be tactically what he does in that position, where he puts himself on the pitch, makes himself available, and then just sort of recycles the ball. Yeah, he's not we're not saying he's a Paul Scholes, but also he's not a Jemba where the pass will go like 7 yards, and he's a better passer.
Good.
Yeah, it's decent. It's good. Yeah.
We've nailed the midfield a little bit. Let's see how it fits in. So my favourite topic at the moment is the formation and how we get the best out of Manchester United with different formations. You obviously saw our glorious victory over Arsenal Fan TV, playing 3 at the back, 5 across midfield and 2 up front. Jose's also experimented with it. I'm not going to say him as inspiration, but So we saw United try it for the first game on tour against Galaxy. We also saw them try it against Valerenga in the second half at least. Do you think this is going to be something that Mourinho uses throughout the season, Paul?
Yes, I do. When you say throughout the season, I mean I don't mean I think that's going to be our default formation every game. I agree on that.
It's going to be one of 2 or 3 that we use. I think.
Yeah, I think it is. I suspect this is going to be something we see. And if you think about the fact that none of the defenders have gone, like in a way, outgoings is the most interesting thing about this transfer window, because I think we would all have predicted 3 or 4 leaving, and so far, unless I've forgotten someone, I think it's just 1. Apart from of senior players that you would expect to be part of the starting rotation, I think it's only Rooney, right, that's left this summer. So he's got a lot of options in defence, and I think that is kind of the fact that he's brought in Lindelof and not let anyone go, particularly either Smalling or Jones, so far kind of definitely makes you think that we're going to see 3 at the back. He's at least thinking about 3 at the back, and I think the key reason, and it's interesting where we tried it in pre-season, because I think the key reason he wants to have a 3 at the back up his sleeve is as an alternative way of breaking down teams that come and sit in 2 banks of 4 against us, because I think that then gives them a lot to think about in terms of dealing with 2 strikers, and the fact that he's brought in Lukaku and has been constantly linked with a left winger all summer is really interesting if you think about Rashford and Martial, and makes way more sense if you assume that at some point he's going to be playing with 2 strikers, and I can't see him playing 4-4-2 too often. So yeah, I think we're going to have some 3-5-2 in our future.
Josh, we know about the reasons that we're going to use it in, or the circumstances that we're going to use it in. Why do you think 3-5-2 suddenly becomes such a popular formation? Because we're seeing it tried out by quite a few. I mean, we've got 3 at the back, won the league with Chelsea last season. We've seen City start to move towards a 3 at the back. Why do you think this is becoming a bit of a fashionable formation at the moment?
I think it's about having a different option in your sort of armory, and having that flexibility to sort of try different things. And like Paul says, against certain formations, this looks like a good option, and especially if you've got the players that fit. You can't just do a 3-5-2 and have, I don't know, Anthony Martial playing at left wing back. It's just not going to work. If you've got the players that can suit, so someone like Valencia obviously suits that right wing back role, then it's something that will work in that situation. And you have to also sort of look at history. Historically, things like this go in cycles. I mean, if you look really back in the day, you've got things like the random Christmas tree formations, things like that, and then obviously the Premier League was 4-4-2, and then it changed to more like a 4. A lot of teams started going with 1 up top. With the 4-2-3-1 and 4-3-3. Jose Mourinho liked that in his first spell at Chelsea. He used that a lot, and I think it's just about cycles. And Conte obviously last season was very successful with it, so people are looking at it and seeing success from other teams using it. And I'm not saying Conte's the first person to do that, but obviously in the UK, in the Premier League, he's the first one to have won the Premier League with that type of formation. So people are going to look at it and see whether it's an option for them, and whether it's something they can use potentially to break down opposition where they've not had success in the past. And I think for us, when you look at the squad, that it looks like a formation that suits the personnel. On the whole, I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm not. I don't even know why. I think it might be from when I was in my Pro Evo days when I used to play it as a kid. I just didn't like that formation. But yeah, if it works, it works. And Conte obviously showed that 3 at the back was something that can win you titles. Yeah, we'll see where it goes. I think it's more an option. I think our default will be 4-3-3 if we do sign Matic.
I agree. I think that's what we're going to see. But I do like it as an option, and especially for breaking down those smaller teams. I think Lukaku definitely benefits from having someone that's a little bit more agile alongside him. Speaking of starting 11s, so you can give us your formation and you can give us your starting 11. I'm going to come straight back to you, Josh, on this one. We are going to keep this running right through the Real Madrid game and then restart it for the Premier League. So this is the International Champions Premier League prediction starting 11 championship of the world. And Joshua, you are rock bottom of the league, embarrassing rock bottom of the league with 3. There's a load of people in between you, and then Macola's top of the league on 20. But we are going to be doing like a special Christmas offer in August where you can win the whole International Champions Cup Premier League predictions table championship of the world if you get the perfect starting 11. So no pressure, mate.
All right.
You can go from bottom to the top.
So Jose obviously thinks completely differently to me when it comes to pre-season and my Football Manager days. But I've gone with De Gea in goal. I think he's going to go strong. Valencia right back, Lindelof, Smalling centre backs, Blint at left back, Herrera, Pogba in the middle, Mkhitaryan, Lingard, Rashford, and then Lukaku up top. I think he'll just change it up from the starting 11 we've just seen against Valerenga and bring in, make quite a few changes there. Yes, but obviously, I don't have precedent for getting things right. So
we did see Valencia, Lingard, and David De Gea given the weekend off and didn't have to travel to Norway. So I do expect that they're going to be featured. Paul, what is your starting 11? The same goes for you. You are on 0, as it is your International Champions Premier League prediction debut. Championship of the world for the pre-season at least. So you can literally go from the bottom and completely overtake everyone because we're giving a 100-point bonus if you get the starting 11 on the nose.
I've used science to back this up. This is the prediction I've thought the most about in the history of these. Haven't been involved in the International Cup, but was heavily involved in last season's Premier League title running. So, I've put a lot of thought into this. That, or I just picked 11 United players at random in roughly the positions they normally played in.
Probably
with
a great shout because
no real forethought. Romero, Damian, Jones, Bailly, Blint, Herrera, Pogba, Pereira. Because I want to see the Herrera, Pogba, Pereira midfield three. Yeah. Mickey, Lukaku, Martial. I don't know. It might be the 11. Can't say it's definitely not going to be the 11, can you? That's. Yeah.
The question is, who's going to pick up the wooden spoon out of you two? That's the one that we should be really talking about here.
I don't recognise the authority of this tournament until it switches to a points per appearance basis. I don't recognise its authority.
I completely agree. There's going to be a riot and a boycott very soon, I think, because it's nonsense. But anyway, that is their lads' starting 11. So you agree? Do you disagree? Get your starting 11s in below, and also your formations. These lads both pretty much went with the same sort of layout, but. Are we going to play 3 at the back? I would like us to play 3 at the back. I think it's a definite option for us. Right, Paul, I'm going to come straight back to you on this one. Tell us everything that you've learned about Sampdoria with all the notice that you had that you was coming on this.
David Platt used to play for him, and Roberto Mancini when he was not a baddie, when he was still a goodie. The thing about Mancini is obviously he became the enemy at one point, but that was a real cognitive dissonance for me because he's one of the coolest footballers that ever was.
We all grew up in the era where Football Italia on Channel 4 was the best thing in the world, didn't we? So
yeah, absolutely. And
Sampdoria was one of the teams that was always on it.
And they were somehow. I don't know. They just had an extra degree of cool, which is just because they had a cool band of and that was the awesome. Coolest kit. So yeah, I've got a great deal of affection for Sampdoria, which is based on no information that goes past about 1996. Yeah. Fabio Quagliarella plays for them now, which means that there is at least a kind of 0.6% chance we're going to see an absolute worldie. and about a 70% chance that we won't see very much at all. They've been really active in the transfer window, bringing in lots of young players, which, to be honest, I haven't done detailed enough research to know whether that's kind of first team building. But it's an interesting approach. They're not the force they once were, obviously, but they've had a bit of a renaissance of playing some kind of interesting attacking football over the last kind of 10 years. That's not particularly current information. But, you know, they were languishing for a long time and they kind of recovered somewhat. But they're obviously a long way from being the kind of, I think they finished 10th in Serie A last season, finished on a negative goal difference. So, you know, we should expect we shouldn't be expecting an amazing level of challenge. This is definitely a Europa League pre-season match rather than a Champions League pre-season match.
Awesome. Right, Joshua, what do your notes say?
Well, I'm going to be a little bit more insightful than Paul. Well, insightful maybe not, but at least I've done a little bit more research, aside from they have a really cool kit, or they used to.
They still have a really cool kit.
They still do. And I'm going to shout a few things out, like Attilo Lombardo and James Richardson. You know, those are things that we always associate with this team. But, they've had...
you missed one.
I think, the whole... I think the point of this game will be they're quite advanced in their pre-season as well, so hopefully it'll be a bit more of an intense run around than some of the other games. Played in Dublin, so it's not going to be in searing heat, so also there won't be that sort of conserving of energy and things like that. So I think that'll be the main thing. They've played 4 pre-season matches. They won their first one 11-0. I'm not sure that really means anything, but they've lost their last one 1-0. So the other thing is they've got a lot of young players in their squad, aside from a few like Quagliarella. But the other player up front is Patrick Schick, the Czech youngster. He got 11 goals last season for them in Serie A, and he's 21 years old. So he's obviously someone to keep an eye on. And they've got a lot of new signings. Aside from that, I don't know a great deal.
All right.
But yeah, I think it'll be a good run out, and we'll keep an eye on that young Czech fella up front, and hopefully Quagliarella blasts one in from 40 yards.
I like playing against Italian teams because they do keep it super tactical, and I would expect a very good defensive game from them at least. So it'd be a good test for us as our final pre-season run out. Joshie, what score are you predicting for this game?
Well, assuming Quagliarella does bang in a 40-yarder, I'm going to go with a 3-1.
Hold on.
To United, obviously.
I just need to consult the scientific database. Right, science says United will win 4-1.
Wow. I'm going to go with 3-0. I think United are going to be a little bit too strong for them, and I think we're going to be preparing for Real Madrid next week. So that is my prediction. That is their lads' predictions. As I said, go give Doc a follow on the old Twitter. Go and give Paul a follow on Twitter as well, but also check out the podcast. It's on iTunes. You should definitely check it out. That is Rantcast. It's all about United, so definitely go and check that one out. Thank you to these guys for joining us. Thank you to you guys for watching at home. Please give it a like. Get your comments in. Who should we be looking out for? What is your favourite 90s? Yeah, let's get this one out. Seriously, what is your favourite 90s Italian football moment or kit or player or anything? Let's just get a discussion going, because I absolutely loved Italian 90s football. Anyway, thank you for joining us. We're out of here. See you later.